Hello, everybody. This is CJ Wiley with More Adventures on the Road, and I have been on the road the last 2 months. My life has changed substantially, and lots of, my mother passed away, my house burnt down. I had a few other things. I've been having some car issues, but there's always a bright side, and I kept thinking that, and sure enough, it did go the other way. So, but I'm not going to gloat about it, because things can happen, to improve your life, and there's other things that can happen that can sabotage it pretty quick. So, anyway, I'm just grateful to be here in Knoxville, Tennessee, right now. I've been seeing some of my old friends, Junior Weldon Rogers. He is here. He's happy to learn he's moving back to Tucson, Arizona, which he's been wanting to go there for quite some time, and the stars aligned, so he'll be able to do that. So I'm happy for him, and been talking about a lot of our road stories, and we went around all over the country, gambling, hustling, and I learned a lot from that man. He's incredibly sharp, and one of the greatest pool hustlers that ever lived. He was an all-around gambler. I mean, he was really good at cards and dice and pretty much anything that you could gamble at. He was exceptional. So anyway, I'm getting ready to start making some more pool videos that are instructional. And one of the things that I want to do is really show how the geometry of the table all connects, because when we're playing pocket billiards, we're dealing with perfect geometric forms of, two squares makes the pool table, which is a rectangle, but all the shots are triangles, and the diamonds are references for those angles, for those triangles, when you know how to read the diamonds. So, one thing you'll hear about is somebody will say, I put a tip of English on the cue ball. Now, what does that really mean to you? What is a tip of English? Could you answer that specifically? Because it's important when you're unlocking the perfect geometry of the game that you have to know these things. And a tip of English, basically, if you're going across table, if you're shooting it into the first diamond, one tip of English will go one diamond into the pocket. So one tip will change the angle one diamond. But you have to practice that and make sure you got the speed and the tempo that is producing that type of angle. So one tip you can be sure of changing one diamond. And this works for kicking, it works for banking, it works for position play. And it's just a reference, but it's a really strong reference, because 1 1/4 tips would change at 1 1/4 diamonds. 1 1/2 tips is a 1 1/2 diamonds. When you get to 2 tips, that's 2 diamonds. And, the way I teach, all of the shots are from 2 alignment positions, either center to center or center to edge. So 1 diamond will be changed, like I said, 1 tip of pivot will change the angle 1 diamond, but what it also does is it'll change where your stick is pointing towards the quarter ball. So 1 tip of pivot will also change 1/4 of a ball as far as the angle goes. 2 tips will change it 2/4, which is a half. So you could literally aim straight at the object ball, pivot over 2 tips, and you'll be aiming at the edge of the ball, and that's where you'll hit, but you'll hit it with 2 tips English. So this is hard to, conceptualize when you're just hearing about it, but I'm going to show on the pool table how it's done. I just want to get to a place like I had in North Carolina. I may actually do it from that same place where I have a private room, and, because it takes, it's hard to do some of these things in public places, and I just haven't been around where I can do any videos, but the ones I'm going to do starting probably in about a week, is going to cover some things I've been wanting to cover for a long time. And one of the things is how to unlock the perfect geometry of the game. Because you will hear people talk about the rectangle and the two squares and the triangles of the shots. But what you don't hear them talk about as much is the perfect spheres that we're using as balls and the perfect straight line we're using in the cue stick. So once you understand how that straight line affects the angles relative to the perfect spheres, then you can really understand how to create any shot by reading the table, and especially understanding where the diamonds are relative to the shots you're performing. And again, it's something that I'm just going to have to show on the table. I may actually get some diagrams and stuff, but I don't know if I'll need to. I don't use any real complicated diamond systems because they don't really work because of humidity, and tables are different as far as the rails and how they react. And those, like three cushion billiard diamond systems are made for three cushion billiard tables that they've got heated, and they got dehumidifiers, and they keep the atmosphere the same all the time, so the rails react the same every time. Because if the table isn't perfect, those type of systems don't work, the diamond systems. Now, I use the diamonds, but I use it in more of a, I have more flexibility as far as understanding right away how the table plays that I'm on and how to adjust what I'm calculating relative to how the rails are reacting. And I can do that pretty quick. But one of those ways is to know what a tip of English is, and you can just kick it into that first diamond and it'll go one diamond over. You'll kick it into the pocket. But if you have an object ball there and you do the same thing except you pivot the other way, you'll make the object ball in that pocket. So one tip will kick the ball one diamond, and one tip will also bank the object ball one diamond. Now when you're going full table, it's half that, because there's twice the distance for the changing of the cue target to change the angle. So if you're trying to create one diamond of angle and you're going the long ways, like if the object ball is on the end rail one diamond over and you're trying to bank that ball, that would be a half a tip. It's a full tip going cross table, but long ways it's a half a tip. If you're going to change it 2 diamonds, it would be 1 tip. So again, that I've made some videos. As a matter of fact, on my private website, cjwiley.com, I've got a section, precision banking tips, or tip banking secrets, I think is what I called it. But it's got about 90 minutes and shows you how to pivot. You want to pivot for outside English. You don't pivot for inside. You go parallel over, but there is a slight pivot, because if you're cutting the ball to the right, the stick has to go to the left a little bit. So when you're going to the inside, the stick goes down and turns slightly to go to the inside. It's a very small difference than going parallel, but you have to be able to do it or you'll undercut the shot when you use inside. And that has a lot to do with the cue angle, because the cue angle will create, the angle of, especially on banks, I really am more paying attention to the angle of my cue. Because like I said, 1 tip will change it 1 diamond. A half a tip will be a half a diamond going cross table. So there's so many ways you can use this, but you have to program this in. You got to practice to make sure your tip is actually going 1 diamond. Because if you're using a tip of English and sometimes it goes a diamond or a half a diamond or 2 diamonds, then you're not going to be able to control the cue ball like you want to. I mean, certainly not at a professional level, because we know where the ball's going. We've got a little bit of margin of error, but we pretty much, when we put a tip of English on it, we know what the cue ball's going to do. But I try to stay away from using spin unless I have to, usually to change the angle off the rail. I don't spin the ball usually just to make the shot. I cue the ball slightly to the inside, which gives me the perception, and it makes that cue angle the correct way. So it makes it easier when I cue everything to the inside. It actually is something that a lot of the top pros do naturally, and they don't realize they're doing it. Sky Woodward's one of those guys. We took my friend Phil in Dallas took 5 pictures of him going down to the exact center of the ball, and he was going slightly to the inside every time. And that's something I just noticed a long time ago, and a lot of the top road players knew it, but they weren't teachers, so they would explain it like after contact, you want to make the ball seem like it's floating, or it's you got it on a string. That's how people would describe when they'd see me play at a real high level. They would say it looks like you have the cue ball on a string because it reacts differently than what they're used to seeing, because they're used to seeing people spin the ball more, and they don't have that dead ball like what I produce and Efren and you know the top Filipino players. Dennis Orcolo told me that when he's playing on tight tables with worn cloth, he uses inside on everything that he can. But when he's playing on new cloth with bigger pockets, he uses outside as much as he can and spins the ball. That makes sense to me. I've always had trouble playing on new cloth. Like the first day or two of a big professional tournament, they used to put new cloth on, and I'd always struggle through those first couple days a little bit because, the way that I hit the ball, that new cloth would slide and make it inaccurate at times. So spinning the ball for those particular shots actually is more accurate. So a lot of the greatest tournament players did use outside English on a lot of their shots because it does conform better to the tournament conditions. But if you're in gambling conditions, it's a little bit different. And like Dennis said, and I agree, that touch of inside on worn cloth with tight pockets is superior because it goes a little straighter and it produces a little bit of what I call pocket acceptance spin. So when you're shooting certain shots, the way the object ball twists a little bit will actually help you make the ball on, especially on tight equipment. Loose equipment, it doesn't matter so much. But anyway, I'm going to put some of these videos together. I also got a lot more road stories coming up. Junior and I went over to some that I'd kind of forgot about and refreshed my memory that are really good. I've got a few stories that I'm saving. I always say I'm waiting for the statute of limitations to run out, but that's only partially true. Anyway, this is CJ. Till next time, I'll be putting together some stuff I'm pretty sure you're going to like. And if you want to know more about my techniques, fundamentals, and systems, go to masteringpocketbilliards.com. And you can join for less than $10 a month, and I've got a lot of stuff on there. All right, well, till next time, this is CJ. I'll talk with you soon.